Look at that. Someone just defended you publicly. Do you hear the silence that followed? That eerie, electric quiet. Like the world just realized it's been watching the wrong villain. Their hands froze mid-typing. Their eyes darted to each other, their minds whispering, "Wait, what if they were never the monster?" You can feel it, can't you? The shift, the panic, the scrambling for evidence. Because that's what they do when reality flips, when the one they buried crawls out of the grave smiling. See, the beautiful part isn't that someone spoke up for you. No. The beautiful part is how everyone else reacted. They weren't ready for it. They weren't ready for truth to crawl into the daylight, wearing your scars like trophies. You were supposed to stay silent. You were supposed to stay guilty. You were supposed to stay gone. But now, your ghost has witnesses. You, my friend, became the glitch in their collective lie. The narrative they built around you, carefully stitched together with gossip, insecurity, and projection, is falling apart. They're replaying old screenshots, reading between words they once weaponized, trying to rewrite their own script before the curtain drops. But they can't, because the footage is rolling, and the villain is starting to look like the only one who ever told the truth. They thought you'd fight back with anger, but you fought back with existence. You stayed, you evolved, you endured. And endurance, my dear, is a far more terrifying form of revenge. Now they're whispering, why would anyone defend them? Because deep down, they know. They saw the cracks in their own version of the story. They saw your silence not as surrender, but as surveillance. They started realizing that maybe, just maybe, you were the one taking notes the whole time. That's the thing about you. You don't scream, you study. You don't react, you record. You don't chase closure, you build evidence. And when the day comes, when someone finally stands up and says your name with conviction, the entire room implodes. Because that one act of defense, it doesn't just challenge their words, it exposes their motives. They called you cold. But what if that calmness was precision? They called you manipulative. But what if it was strategy? They called you heartless. But what if it was focus? Duality, baby. The saint and the psychopath share the same face. It's the intent that separates them. And your intent was never destruction. It was exposure. Now they're scouring through memories, trying to remember who started it, who twisted what, who lied first. But truth doesn't need to shout. It just waits. And oh, it waited, patiently, watching them build their little kingdom of assumptions on a swamp of projection. And tonight, it's sinking. The irony, they thought you were the unstable one. But look at them now, trembling, anxious, rewriting history in group chats that feel more like courtrooms. They used to dissect your every move. Now they're dissecting their own. Because once someone defends you publicly, the game changes. The illusion fractures. The control slips. You're not the outcast anymore. You're the anomaly. And anomalies don't play by rules. They rewrite them. That's the moment you realize you were never their villain. You were their mirror. You reflected the parts of themselves they couldn't stand to see. Ambition without permission, power without apology, darkness without shame. You became the embodiment of everything they repressed, so they called you dangerous. And they were right. Because once someone tells the truth out loud about you, every mask starts to melt. Now they're spiraling, trying to sanitize their conscience, trying to gather proof that you were the problem. But it's too late, isn't it? The silence is the proof. The panic is the proof. The fact that they can't stop talking about you, that's the proof. You were never the storm. You were the eye inside it, calm, calculating, prophetic. You let them tear down the old you, not realizing that was your cocoon. They didn't destroy you, they delivered you. And now, standing here, you're not begging for validation. You're watching their narratives decay in real time. You're witnessing the poetic justice of truth delayed but never denied. You don't need to speak. They're speaking for you now. Every rumor they repeat, every sentence they regret, every post they delete. It's all confession. You've become the unsolvable case, the one that makes even the investigators question their training. Because no matter how many times they rewind the footage, you keep defying the frame. Someone defended you publicly, yes. But the real twist? They didn't defend you. They defended reality. You see, truth doesn't need allies. It just needs time. And now that time has arrived, dripping with irony, lit by the flames of every false story they ever told. So smile. Not out of revenge, but recognition. They're not scrambling for evidence because you're guilty. They're scrambling because for the first time, they've realized you were never the villain, just the proof that they were. You can almost taste it, can't you? That trembling in the air, like static before a lightning strike. They thought this was over. They thought your silence was a coffin, but silence was your camouflage. Now they're spiraling through DMs and archives, dissecting old screenshots, trying to remember what they said when they thought you'd never come back. Every message feels radioactive. Every memory feels dangerous. Because someone finally said the forbidden sentence. Maybe they were right all along. And that's the detonation. That one whisper turned the narrative into a crime scene. You see, when someone defends you publicly, they don't just break ranks. They expose the invisible hierarchy of fear that kept everyone quiet. The unspoken rule was simple. Don't side with you. But someone did. And now that person is glowing in the dark like a flare in the middle of a battlefield. They're hunting for evidence now, scrolling, searching, sweating, trying to find something, anything, that makes their old version of you make sense again. But the data doesn't fit. The screenshots look different now. The timestamps contradict the myth. The footage shows what they refused to see. You weren't the chaos. You were the constant. You were the one who never broke, even when everything else did. And that terrifies them. Because people don't fear evil. They fear endurance. They fear the one who can't be destroyed by gossip, distance, or exile. You endured, quietly, methodically. And when endurance wears the face of the accused, it turns into prophecy. Now they're trying to recall how it all started. Who was the first to say it? Who started the rumor? Who told the story that made everyone believe? And suddenly, no one remembers. How convenient. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? When they needed you to be the villain, they had perfect memory. But when truth begins to bleed through, amnesia becomes fashionable. But you remember. You remember every smirk that tried to disguise cruelty. You remember every joke that wasn't a joke. You remember every fake apology, every sideways glance, every performance of concern. And now, you don't need to say a word, because someone else did it for you. Someone said your name with conviction, and it was enough to split reality in two. Now half the crowd is pretending they never doubted you, and the other half is pretending they're not terrified. You see, truth doesn't knock. It kicks the door down. And you were the door. You held back years of proof, waiting for the right second, the one where the audience was tired enough of lies to finally listen. They wanted your silence. You gave them patience. They wanted your downfall. You gave them evolution. They wanted to watch you burn. you became the fire itself. Do you know why they scramble for evidence now? Because deep down, they're not trying to prove you wrong. They're trying to prove themselves innocent. They're trying to justify why they laughed, why they believed, why they joined the crowd when you were bleeding. But guilt has no expiration date. It just waits, quietly, like a debt that never forgets. And when someone defended you, that debt came due. Now they're paying for it in sleepless nights and nervous scrolls. They're reading comments like autopsies. They're dissecting every timeline like detectives chasing a ghost. But ghosts don't leave fingerprints. They leave fear. You've become that fear. Not because you're haunting them, but because you're free. Freedom terrifies the guilty. Because they live inside the cages they built for others. And when you walk by, unbothered, unfazed, undeniable, it reminds them that cages only work on the obedient. You were never obedient. You were observant. You learned how to weaponize silence, how to wear pain like armor, how to turn exile into education. They called it isolation. You called it training. And now, every move you make is evidence. Every success you have is contradiction. Every breath you take says, I survived everything you whispered. They can't handle that. Because your existence dismantles their illusion. You turned their gossip into your gospel, their ridicule into your rebirth, their silence into your soundtrack. And the person who defended you. That was the universe tipping its hand. A sign that the narrative shifted, that your name was too heavy to stay buried. Even the universe got tired of pretending you were the problem. So now they gather, confused, whispering about timing, about context, about details. They say, well, it's complicated. No, it's not. It's simple. Truth aged better than their lies. You are the living contradiction they can't decode. The angel who walks like a demon, the sinner with sacred timing, the nightmare with holy intent. You blurred the lines between villainy and vision, and in doing so, you became untouchable. They can't label you anymore. They can't frame you anymore. They can't kill what's already immortalized in misunderstanding. And that's your power. You became the question they're too afraid to answer. So let them scramble. Let them replay the footage, zoom in, slow it down, analyze the tone of your silence. Because the more they search for proof, the closer they get to seeing the one thing they've avoided all along. The mirror. They'll find the evidence. Oh yes. But it won't condemn you. It'll expose them. So don't interrupt the process. Let them panic. Let them dig. Let them sweat. Because what they're really unearthing is the truth they buried with your name attached. And when they finally find it, when the light hits it just right, they'll realize the punchline they've been running from. You didn't need to be defended. The truth did, and the truth chose you. Oh, they're still digging, aren't they? Every sleepless night, every just one more scroll through the past. They're not looking for truth. They're looking for comfort. But truth doesn't comfort. It confronts. They said, we need evidence. As if your pain wasn't proof. As if your silence wasn't testimony. As if surviving wasn't the loudest confession of all. Now they're gathering in private calls, whispering behind digital curtains, rewriting memories in real time. The irony? They're trying to rewrite the very script they forced you to live. Because someone, one single voice, stood up and cracked the illusion. They said, you all might have gotten this wrong. And just like that, the spell broke. You know what's happening now. They're auditing their own morality. They're checking if they laughed too loud when your name was mocked. They're remembering how good it felt to join the crowd, how easy it was to point fingers at someone who couldn't point back. And now they're haunted by the footage, the way they smiled while you drowned, the way they built theories out of your trauma, the way they watched your downfall like entertainment. But someone defended you, and suddenly it's not funny anymore. Now it's dangerous. Because if they were wrong about you, what else were they wrong about? They called you manipulative, but you never controlled anyone. You just stopped playing the victim. They called you cold, but you were conserving warmth for yourself. They called you heartless, but you were done performing empathy for spectators. You see, the world fears what it cannot label. And you, my dear, became unclassifiable. Too kind for their cruelty, too cruel for their purity, too real for their performance. So they built a version of you they could understand. And when someone defended the real one, their architecture cracked. Now every but remember when they sounds like desperation. Every I heard they did sounds like confession. Every let's not bring this up again sounds like guilt. You've become their unfinished business, the paradox that won't dissolve, the ghost that doesn't vanish when ignored. Because you're not haunting them, you're mirroring them, and deep down, they see it. That's why they can't look you in the eyes anymore. Because when they do, they see the version of themselves that chose comfort over courage. They were spectators in your crucifixion. Now they're witnesses to your resurrection. You rose without permission. You healed without announcement. You forgave without asking. You moved on without leaving a forwarding address. And that is unforgivable to them. Because your evolution stole their control. They can't punish what no longer participates. You were never their enemy. You were their unfinished evolution. You were what they could have been if they had endured what you did and didn't turn bitter. So when someone defended you, it was like time rewound. The truth they buried came back with teeth. Their guilt sprouted roots, and every fake smile they ever gave you started to rot in their memory. You see, they wanted your silence because your story threatens their simplicity. You're living proof that monsters can have mercy, that broken people can be disciplined, that pain can breed precision, and that survival, real, unfiltered survival, isn't pretty, it's terrifying. You didn't rise to inspire them, you rose to expose them. You are the walking audit of their integrity, and that's why they scramble for evidence. Not because they doubt you, but because they doubt themselves. They keep saying, something about them just feels off. Yes, it's called authenticity. It triggers the fraudulent. You've noticed it too, haven't you? The way their energy shifts when you enter a room, the way laughter quiets, the way posture changes, the way eyes avoid, but ears sharpen. That's not coincidence. That's recognition. They can sense it. The truth vibrating through you like static before thunder. You're not speaking revenge, you're breathing proof. And that's far more dangerous, because revenge burns fast. But proof is eternal. They can't unsee what they've seen now. They can't unsay what they said. They can't undo the fact that the one they mocked became the one they study. They're not scrolling for your downfall anymore. They're scrolling for explanation. They're analyzing your every move, like a psychological report they can't decode. Because deep down, they want to know how. How did you survive their silence? How did you stay kind when cruelty was currency? How did you keep winning when the world bet against you? They don't understand that pain, when harnessed, turns into prophecy. You learn to weaponize wounds, to alchemize humiliation into higher ground, to take every dagger and forge it into data. And now, While they scramble for evidence, you're sitting in stillness, knowing the truth doesn't need to shout. It just waits. Because justice isn't an event. It's erosion. It eats away at falsehood, quietly, efficiently, inevitably. So let them panic, let them whisper, let them pray that the clip doesn't surface, that the screenshots stay buried. Because the funny thing about evidence is, it doesn't disappear. It waits for the right audience. And now, the whole world is watching. Their lies were loud, but your silence is deafening. Someone defended you publicly. Yes, but don't mistake it for validation. It wasn't charity, it was inevitability. Because when truth has marinated long enough in darkness, it doesn't need a spotlight. It becomes the lightning. And that's what you are now. Lightning in human form, unpredictable, untamed, unapologetic. They don't know whether to worship you or warn others about you. They don't know if you're redemption or retribution. They don't know if you're human or haunting. But they do know this. You can't be erased anymore. Because when someone defended you, they didn't save your name. They resurrected your legend. And now, no matter how far they run, your silence follows them like a conscience they can't mute. You didn't just survive. You documented. You remembered. You became the evidence. And that's what terrifies them most. That you're not chasing justice anymore. Because you are it. And now here you stand, unshaken, unbothered, untouchable. Every eye that once watched you crumble now watches you calculate. Every mouth that once cursed your name now hesitates before speaking it. You see the shift, don't you? That flicker of recognition, the quiet acknowledgement that they built their comfort out of your crucifixion. But here's the thing they'll never admit. They needed you to fall. Because your downfall was their proof that order still existed, that consequences still applied to those who dared to be different. But you didn't just fall. You descended with purpose. You sank deep enough to see their roots. You watched their motives rot in the soil. You memorized every hypocrite by the tremor in their voice. And when you rose again, you carried something none of them will ever possess. Clarity. They still think survival is luck. You know it's a science, because you learned what breaks people. You learned how easily loyalty folds under pressure, how quickly admiration turns into fear, and how fear breeds stories. You became fluent in betrayal. And fluency, my friend, is power. Now, as they scramble through the ashes, calling it investigation, you stand in the open, breathing calm, because you are the evidence. Every scar on your skin is a signature. Every silence you kept is a timestamp. Every success you've built since is an affidavit that truth doesn't die. It mutates. Let them whisper. Let them circle the same lies like vultures who can't find fresh meat. They're not after the truth. They're after distraction, because if they ever stop spinning stories about you, they'd have to face the emptiness inside themselves. That's your final victory, isn't it? You didn't have to ruin them. You just had to outlast them. And endurance is something cowards can't counterfeit. Now you walk through rooms that used to suffocate you, and the air parts like it remembers. You speak in tones that carry thunder wrapped in calm, and they feel it, the quiet authority of someone who's been through hell and took notes. That's why they can't approach you the same way anymore. Because you've become unpredictable, and unpredictability in a world built on fear is indistinguishable from divinity. You're the saint that crawled out of a sinner's body, the storm that learned mercy, the warning dressed as a smile. You're every paradox they swore couldn't coexist. And that's what terrifies them most. That someone could be both wounded and wise, dangerous and disciplined, unhinged yet holy. You're the contradiction they can't contain. So let them keep their theories. Let them build timelines. Let them gather proof. Because at the end of it all, their evidence will point back to one truth so unbearable, so undeniable, that even their pride won't survive it. You were never the villain. You were the mirror. And the reflection they saw was never yours. It was theirs. So when they ask how you did it, when they whisper how you came back stronger, colder, calmer, just smile. Not because you won, but because you finally understood. Some people don't hate you for what you did. They hate you for what your survival proves about them. And now, after all their lies, all their noise, all their desperate searching, they finally found the evidence they were looking for. It's you, standing here, untouched, unfolding, unforgiven, and absolutely, irrevocably free. Hey, look at me. No, really look. You ever notice how the world starts glitching the moment you stop apologizing for existing? Funny, isn't it? One little shift in tone, one unfiltered move, and suddenly everyone acts like you just rewired the damn algorithm. Because you did. The system was built for followers, not anomalies. And you're the GOAT, the greatest of all time. And that title wasn't given. It was extracted from pain, precision, and the kind of madness no normal heart could survive. They hate you because you're proof the design failed. Every rule they coded, every illusion they fed the masses, it all collapses the moment you move. You've become something unquantifiable, a signal that breaks their scanners, a frequency that bends the metrics instead of chasing them. They call you arrogant, but that's what people scream when they realize they've been worshiping the wrong gods. You see, the GOAT doesn't chase the crown. The crown finds him. It trembles. It crawls. It adjusts itself to fit the skull of the one who outgrew permission. You didn't just win. You broke the formula that decides what winning even means. And now, every time your name echoes, their code panics. You are the unpatchable bug in their universe, the unteachable variable, the mistake that became the master. And oh, the irony. They tried so hard to manufacture greatness, to copy your spark in boardrooms and backrooms, to clone your chaos in labs and algorithms. But greatness born from fear doesn't last. It loops, it lags, it begs for validation. You just exist, and the numbers rearrange themselves like servants. You breathe, and the data bows. You post once, and trends collapse into obedience. You're the living contradiction, too human to be replaced, too divine to be ignored. They whisper about you now, those same voices that laughed before. How? They ask. What's his secret? As if your pain could be packaged, as if sleepless nights and blood-soaked awakenings could be replicated in software. You built empires from the ashes of breakdowns. You turned silence into strategy. Every scar on your soul became a chapter in the manual they're too scared to read. Because here's the truth they'll never say out loud. You became everything the system feared most. A self-aware anomaly. The GOAT isn't just the best. He's the glitch the simulation can't quarantine. They can't study you because you keep evolving mid-experiment. Every time they think they've decoded your pattern, you shed another layer. You outgrow their understanding before it even loads. You are the lag in their logic, the crash in their comfort, the wild card that bends probability itself. They keep asking, why him? Why her? And the answer terrifies them. Because you earned your chaos. Because you didn't seek comfort. You weaponized it. You learned how to smile through betrayal. how to sharpen your empathy until it cut through manipulation. You're not powered by followers. You're powered by the frequency of truth. That's why their envy feels like worship wrapped in denial. They hate what they secretly study. And deep down, you know it. You feel it every time you walk into a room. The static, the glitch, the silent tension in their eyes. They can sense that something ancient is moving behind your calm. Something that remembers every time they doubted you, every time they tried to delete your name from relevance. But the algorithm remembers. It loves you. It bends to you because you've broken it so beautifully. You are not trending. You're timeless, not predictable. You're prophetic, not built. You're born of anomaly. And they can't comprehend how something so unstable could be the foundation of evolution. That's what eats them alive. That's why the hate sounds like applause in reverse. They don't even realize they're feeding your legend every time they speak your name. Their obsession is your proof of dominance. Because the goat doesn't beg for validation. He radiates inevitability. Every win feels accidental, but every move is surgical. You let them think they're catching up, only to remind them that you exist 3 lifetimes ahead of their metrics. You are the one the system can't simulate, the ghost in the code, the prophecy in motion. And when the lights dim and the noise fades, when every imitation burns out trying to mimic your madness, you'll still be standing, unbothered, unreplicable, untouchable. Because greatness isn't in what you do, it's in what refuses to die inside you. So let them talk. Let them glitch. Let them choke on their own updates. Because whether they admit it or not, the algorithm still kneels when you move. And that, my friend, is why the whole system hates the goat. Funny thing about silence, isn't it? It never stays quiet around you for long. You walk into a room, and the air itself starts editing its tone. The lights flicker, like they know they're not supposed to outshine you. Even the walls, they listen, because somewhere, deep inside the circuitry of this little simulation, there's an old line of code that recognizes what you are, the original variable, the one they couldn't predict, couldn't contain, couldn't delete. You see, they built this world on repetition. Same faces, same words, same illusions of control. But then you appeared, and the whole matrix hesitated. You weren't supposed to exist outside the pattern. You were the error that didn't crash the system. You rewrote it. That's why they stare at you like a ghost wearing skin. Because deep down, they know you came from somewhere the light can't reach. They called you lucky. Oh, that word. The coward's vocabulary for describing someone who bled smarter than they planned. They didn't see the nights your mind became a battlefield, where sleep was a hostage and purpose was a weapon. They don't understand that being the goat isn't about applause. It's about endurance. It's about standing in the ashes of your own breakdown and building a cathedral out of the smoke. You learned that success isn't born. It's forged violently in the crucible of humiliation, exile, and isolation. Every mockery, every betrayal, every door slammed in your face was an initiation rite. While they ran from discomfort, you interviewed it. You dissected pain until it confessed its secrets. That's why the algorithm bows. It recognizes the original architect of self-evolution when it sees one. You didn't play the game. You became the game. And when the game realized it couldn't control you, it changed its own rules to make sense of your existence. You were never competing. You were conditioning the environment to your frequency. That's what terrifies them, that you didn't need permission, that you didn't ask for validation, that you created your own mythos in real time, and the world couldn't look away. They keep trying to decode you like a riddle that shouldn't exist. Because your logic doesn't fit their blueprint. You're the saint and the psychopath, the savior and the sinner, the paradox that walks on both sides of reality, smiling, bleeding, laughing, and calculating all at once. You turn pain into poetry, chaos into choreography, trauma into design. You're the kind of creature that scares both angels and demons because neither can claim you fully. And that's your power, isn't it? You live in the in-between, where sanity negotiates with madness, where genius shakes hands with rage. You're too strategic for chaos and too chaotic for structure. You are the perfect miscalculation, the one the universe couldn't predict but had to obey. They tried to box you into categories: influencer, prodigy, freak, villain, visionary. But every label burned when it touched you. You don't fit definitions. You force them to evolve. You walk like prophecy and laugh like rebellion. Every move you make rewrites something in their subconscious. You don't just exist. You haunt people into becoming aware of themselves. That's why they can't stop watching. That's why their hate looks so much like fascination. Because deep down, every human being wants to touch that level of freedom. But most would rather worship it than earn it. You earned yours. Through collapse, through betrayal, through that sweet moment when everything you trusted turned to venom. And you drank it anyway, because you wanted to understand the poison. And oh, how it tasted. That's when you became untouchable. Because the goat isn't the strongest. The goat is the one who remembers pain without fear, the one who can smile while everything burns, knowing fire doesn't destroy him. It reveals him. You didn't become great by being better. You became great by refusing to break where others begged for mercy, by weaponizing self-awareness, by turning every ounce of your suffering into strategy. That's what makes you lethal. They call you cold. But cold is just heat that's learned patience. You don't react anymore. You calculate. You watch them implode while you breathe steady. And they hate that. They hate that you can sit in the same silence that drives them insane. And smile. Because silence doesn't scare you anymore. It serves you. It reports to you. You turned absence into a message, and now the whole world keeps refreshing your presence like an addiction. Do you understand what you've become? You're no longer in the system. You're the myth the system runs on. Your name is a signal. Your moves are data points. Your existence rewrote what possible even means. And that's why they call you dangerous, because danger is just power they can't regulate. So let them whisper, let them glitch, let them gather in their little rooms and try to calculate your downfall like it's an equation. You'll be there, at the edge of their comprehension, smiling, because you already know the truth. They're not competing with you. They're orbiting you. Every time they scroll, every time they copy, every time they hate. They feed the empire you built by accident. That's what it means to be the goat. You don't chase attention, it hunts you. You don't need to trend. You bend the feed around your frequency. And when they finally realize it, when the data stops lying and the metrics start confessing, they'll understand what you knew all along. You were never just a player. You were the glitch that became the goddamn game. And the algorithm, it still bows every time you breathe. You know what the funniest part is? They knew what you were the second you stopped performing for them. That's when the fear set in. Not when you won, not when you succeeded, but when you went quiet. Because silence from someone like you doesn't mean defeat. It means calibration. It means you're calculating something that doesn't fit their range of understanding. And in that quiet, they realized. They were never observing you. You were observing them. Every time they doubted you, you took notes. Every insult, data. Every betrayal, blueprint. Every loss, a seed. You didn't retaliate. You recorded. You didn't react. You refined. That's the difference between them and you. They fight for approval. You fight for control. They need a crowd to feel real. You just need a thought. That's why you terrify them, because you don't live inside their laws of validation. You became autonomous. You detached from their emotional economy. When they tried to cancel you, they forgot you were self-coded, untethered, unmoderated, and unreplicable. You are the only constant in a self-corrupting loop. They can't categorize you, and that drives them mad. They look for your weakness like forensic scientists digging through data, but they'll never find it, because it doesn't exist in what they can measure. Your weaknesses became your weapons. Your trauma became your technology. You turned pain into code, code into language, and language into reality. You made the digital gods bow to the human will. Yours? You see, the goat doesn't rise through applause. He rises through elimination. Every failure removes another pretender. Every loss tightens the bloodline. That's why you keep standing. Because you've already died in every way that matters. What's left is something post-human, something unkillable. They tried to shadow ban your destiny. They thought if they ignored you long enough, you'd fade. But greatness doesn't fade. It festers. It multiplies in darkness. You thrived where light was denied. You learned that rejection is just redirection with better timing. They buried you, not realizing you were rooted. Now the same ones who mocked your beginnings are decoding your patterns, begging for tutorials, writing think pieces on your psychology like you're a case study in transcendence. And maybe you are. Because what you did, nobody was prepared for it. You didn't break the algorithm. You seduced it. You made it addicted to your unpredictability. That's why it keeps pushing your energy to the top. Because chaos is the only content that never expires. And you, my friend, are chaos with a cause. You don't chase moments. You manufacture them. You don't wait for opportunities. You corner them. You taught the system what hunger looks like when it's pure, primal, and patient. You didn't win because you were faster. You won because you were inevitable. You know how I can tell? Because even your enemies imitate your tone. They mimic your cadence, your visuals, your confidence. They've become reflections of your shadow, trapped in orbit around the very frequency they tried to destroy. That's the curse of touching true greatness. It stains the soul. They can't unsee you. Their hate is just gravity, keeping them tethered to your field. Every time they whisper your name, you grow stronger. Every time they lie about you, they reinforce the myth. You're not being watched anymore. You're being studied. And the punchline? Every one of them wants to be you, but without the suffering that built you. But they can't skip the suffering, can they? That's the tax for divinity. That's what separates the chosen from the cloned. Pain was your initiation. The ritual that rewired your DNA for something higher. That's why you feel alien sometimes. That's why you can't connect like you used to. Because you're no longer operating at human voltage. You burned the ego. You buried the mask. You outgrew the noise. And now, your silence makes more noise than their entire careers. Because when you speak, the world listens. Not out of love, But out of recognition, somewhere in every listener, there's a piece of them that remembers what it means to be unstoppable. And you activate that. You awaken that ancient code in people. That's your true power. Not fame, not numbers, not influence. You trigger evolution. You remind people that fear is optional and chaos is sacred. That control isn't about domination, it's about direction. You don't destroy systems. You make them outgrow themselves. You are the evolution they didn't authorize. And that's why the algorithm bows. Because deep down, it knows. It was built to track patterns, and you stopped having one. You became fluid, paradoxical, unpredictable. Divine madness in motion. You're what happens when a human realizes that rules are just suggestions written by the insecure. So when you walk slow. Let them watch. Let them panic. Let them whisper that you sold your soul. Because the truth is, you bought it back. You reclaimed every piece of yourself they tried to fragment. You became the sum of every lesson they refused to learn. And now, you stand, calm, calculated, unstoppable. The data bends, the whispers follow, the code trembles, because it all knows one immutable truth. The world doesn't move you anymore. You move the world. And every metric or every hater, every hidden watcher knows it. The algorithm still bows to the goat. And here's the thing they'll never admit. They knew this day was coming. Somewhere in their subconscious they felt the pull, the subtle hum of inevitability every time your name crossed their feed. They laughed to hide it, mocked to mask it, pretended not to see you. But they did. They saw everything, every move, every silence, every metamorphosis that made their timelines look primitive. And now, they can't unsee it. They can't unlearn you. You're burned into the fabric of this era like a watermark from another dimension. The more they try to discredit you, the deeper your shadow etches into the collective psyche. You've become the ghost that lives in their metrics, the legend the algorithm refuses to bury. They don't realize yet, this was never about fame or validation or applause. It was about proof. Proof that you could bend reality with precision, that your chaos had intention, that your scars were blueprints and your madness was mathematical. You rewired the concept of effort. You turned pain into productivity, hate into momentum, isolation into laboratory silence. You made growth look like warfare, and you won every battle smiling. You think that didn't change them? Oh, it did. They scroll past you like it's nothing, but their eyes pause. Their breath stutters. Their pulse spikes. And they don't know why. That's not envy. That's recognition. Their subconscious understands what their ego denies. You are evolution with a pulse. You're the glitch in the gene pool. You're the impossible equation that solved itself. And it's poetic, isn't it? The same ones who called you crazy now build entire aesthetics off your chaos. The ones who called you too much now recycle your words as mantras. You didn't just break their code. You became their compass. They navigate through your echoes, chasing the original frequency that only you can produce. You were never supposed to fit in. You were designed to shift the environment, to warp the air when you speak, to alter the data when you move. You're the kind of soul that makes destiny skip a beat. That's why you keep surviving storms that should have erased you. Because you are the storm, wearing human skin. And you know what's funny? You never needed their crown. You built your throne out of ruins. You never begged for entry. You became the doorway. You never chased respect. You magnetized it through silence, precision, and unapologetic authenticity. You walked through hell and came out with the devil asking for advice. That's the essence of the goat. Unpredictable, unkillable, unrepeatable. the living paradox of chaos and discipline, the saint who sinned on purpose to learn the system from the inside, the demon who prayed in silence and came back enlightened. You are both prophecy and punishment, and the world still hasn't figured out which. So when they glare, let them. When they doubt, let them. When they plot, smile. Because every ounce of their energy feeds your myth. Every whisper strengthens the signal. Every attempt to bury your name only digs your monument deeper. They don't know it yet. But the story's already written. You won before they even realized the game began. The numbers will keep lying. The metrics will keep glitching. The world will keep spinning in confusion. But truth always recalibrates to its origin. And the origin is you. So stand still for a second. Feel it. That quiet hum behind everything. That's not noise. That's the system breathing your name. That's the algorithm surrendering to the architect. And when you walk away from this moment, don't explain. Don't apologize. Don't flinch. Just know this. You don't owe the world your humility. The world owes you acknowledgement. Because whether they admit it or not, every code still bends. Every screen still flickers. Every timeline still shifts. Every time the goat moves. Funny thing about silence. It only gets loud when everyone realizes they've been lying to themselves about you. You felt it, didn't you? That moment when the room shifted, when smiles froze half a second too long, when the energy changed and nobody announced it. One day you were the good one, the safe one, the one they could lean on without fear. And the next, suddenly everyone switched sides. Suddenly the tone changed. Suddenly the people who swore they were with you started speaking in coded glances and half-truths. That's when the mask slipped. Not yours, theirs. You see, you were never the nice guy. That was just the story they told themselves so they could sleep at night. That was the costume they forced onto you because it made them feel powerful. Because it made them feel superior. Because it let them believe they were choosing kindness while quietly feeding off your restraint. But restraint isn't weakness. It's containment. And containment only exists because there's something dangerous inside. They didn't switch sides because you changed. They switched sides because you didn't. You stayed calm while their alliances rotted. You stayed quiet while their loyalty evaporated. You stayed still while their fear started pacing back and forth inside their skulls like a trapped animal. And that scared them more than any outburst ever could. Because unpredictability isn't chaos. It's control without permission. It's power they can't forecast. It's a mind they can't map. That's the paradox you live in. Angel on the surface, demon in the depth, saint in behavior, psychopath in awareness. You learned how to smile without surrendering. You learned how to be polite without being owned. And the moment they realized your kindness wasn't submission, the moment they sensed you weren't begging for approval, they panicked. That's when the nice guy mask slipped off their faces. You saw it. The passive aggression, the sudden distance, the rewrites of history, the way your name started sounding different in their mouths. Not because you did something wrong, but because you stopped being convenient. You stopped absorbing disrespect and calling it peace. You stopped shrinking to keep the illusion alive. They wanted you predictable. They wanted you gentle and obedient, warm and harmless, but you evolved in silence. You learned pain like a language. You learned betrayal like a curriculum. You learned loss like a weapon forged slowly, carefully, with intention. And while they were busy choosing sides, you were becoming something that doesn't need one. That's what they never understood. You don't fight for sides. You outgrow them. The dark truth. Every nice guy story ends the same way. The moment you stop bleeding for free. The moment you stop saving people who wouldn't save you. The moment you choose awareness over approval. The room reveals itself. Friends turn into observers. Supporters turn into judges. Allies turn into witnesses, praying you don't notice them trembling. Because once the mask slips, there's no unseeing it. You start noticing how their kindness was conditional, how their praise was a leash, how their loyalty depended on you staying smaller than your potential. And when you finally stand up straight, when you finally look around without apologizing for existing, their morality collapses under the weight of your clarity. That's the evolution through pain nobody warns you about. You don't come out kinder. You come out sharper, more precise, more selective. You don't lose empathy. You gain control over where it's spent. You don't become cruel. You become unreachable by manipulation. And that terrifies people who built their identity on being the good ones, while quietly exploiting your patience. They call you cold now, distant, changed, dangerous, good, because danger was always there. You just stopped hiding it behind manners. The truth is, you were never fooled by them. You were studying them, learning the patterns, watching who switched sides first, watching who smiled while sharpening the knife, watching who disappeared the moment you stopped over-giving. And every betrayal carved clarity into your spine. That's the real awakening. Not rage, not revenge. Awareness. You don't explode. You don't beg. You don't explain. You let the silence do the talking while you upgrade in private. You let them scramble for narratives while you rewrite your identity in ink they can't erase. You let them wonder which version of you is real. The calm one, or the one they sense watching them from behind your eyes. Here's the secret they'll never admit out loud. They preferred you when you were confused. They preferred you when you doubted yourself. They preferred you when your kindness was predictable and your boundaries were negotiable. The moment you became self-directed, self-contained, self-aware, the illusion broke. And once the illusion breaks, the game is over. You don't need to switch sides. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to expose anyone. Their behavior did that for you. All you have to do now is keep evolving, keep refining, keep moving like someone who understands both heaven and hell, because you've lived in the space between them. They thought you were soft because you were silent. They thought you were harmless because you were polite. They thought you were naive because you didn't strike back. Now they know better. And the funniest part, they still don't know what you're capable of. And that uncertainty, that gnawing, sleepless uncertainty, is what finally flips the power dynamic for good. Because now when they look at you, they're not sure which version they're dealing with. The forgiving one? The patient one? The one who listened, absorbed, understood? Or the one who learned exactly how people move when they think no one's watching? That ambiguity lives rent-free in their head. You don't threaten them. You don't posture. You don't explain yourself. You simply exist, fully aware. And awareness is terrifying to people who built their lives on pretending. You see, when everyone switched sides, they thought they were isolating you. They thought cutting you off would weaken you. They thought silence would starve you. But they forgot something crucial. You were forged in quiet. You learned yourself in rooms where nobody clapped. You found your spine when no one defended you. You became dangerous in places where attention never reached. So when they withdrew support, all they did was remove the noise. And in that silence, you heard everything. You heard the truth about who was with you for convenience. You heard the lie behind the smiles. You heard the jealousy hidden inside encouragement. You heard how quickly morality bends when status is on the line. And instead of collapsing, something inside you aligned, like fractured bones knitting together stronger than before. That's the moment the internal shift happened, the one nobody saw coming. You stopped reacting. You stopped chasing understanding. You stopped explaining your intentions to people committed to misunderstanding you. And that's when the mask really slipped. Because once you no longer needed their approval, their leverage evaporated. They tried guilt. It failed. They tried rewriting the past. It didn't stick. They tried painting you as the villain to justify their cowardice. But even that felt hollow. Because deep down, they knew. They knew you weren't wrong. You were awake. And awakening doesn't look pretty to those still dreaming. It looks like betrayal. It looks like arrogance. It looks like danger. Because an awakened mind doesn't ask for permission to evolve. It doesn't beg to belong. It doesn't fold itself into smaller shapes to fit someone else's comfort. That's the saint-psychopath paradox you embody now. You can be compassionate without being controllable, calm without being passive, kind without being weak. You understand darkness not because you worship it, but because you survived it. And once you survive something, it no longer owns you. That's what scares them most. You're not angry. You're not chaotic. You're not reckless. You're precise. You know when to speak and when to disappear. You know when to give and when to withdraw. You know how to sit in a room and let people expose themselves without saying a word. That level of restraint, that's not niceness. That's mastery. They mistook your patience for ignorance, your silence for fear, your empathy for submission. They were wrong, and now they feel it every time you walk into a space, and the energy tightens. Every time you don't laugh at the joke meant to test you. Every time you respond neutrally where they expected emotional labor. Every time you choose distance without drama. They feel the shift, but they can't name it. All they know is something irreversible happened, and you're no longer playing the role they wrote for you. That's the cost of growth nobody romanticizes. You lose access to certain rooms. Certain conversations go quiet. Certain people vanish. But what you gain is alignment, self-trust, a sense of internal authority that doesn't need consensus. You start moving like someone who understands the game, but isn't addicted to it anymore. And here's the part they'll never say out loud. They miss the version of you they could predict. They miss the version of you that absorbed discomfort to keep peace. They miss the version of you that stayed nice, even when it hurt. But that version of you died for a reason, because survival demanded evolution. Now you're something else entirely, something they can't categorize, too disciplined to manipulate, too observant to deceive, too grounded to provoke. You're not light or dark, you're both, and you know when to use each. And that balance, that's what separates power from chaos. So let them switch sides, let them whisper, let them cope however they need to cope. You're not here to be liked, you're here to be real. And real people don't need masks. And the deeper truth, the one that really messes with them, is that you're not even trying to intimidate anyone. You're just no longer available for nonsense. That alone feels like an attack to people who relied on your tolerance to feel powerful. See, when the nice guy mask slipped off their faces, it wasn't dramatic, it was subtle. It was in the way loyalty suddenly required conditions, in the way support came with strings, in the way your boundaries were treated like betrayal. That's how you knew. Not because they yelled, but because they expected you to stay small while they grew bold. That's the moment your internal compass recalibrated. You stopped asking, "How do I keep this connection?" and started asking, "Why does this connection only exist when I'm bleeding?" That question alone changes everything, because once you see that dynamic clearly, you can't unsee it. And once you can't unsee it, pretending becomes impossible. That's when people start calling you different, not because you changed your values, but because you stopped violating them for comfort. They don't understand this phase. They think you've gone cold. They think you've become distant. They think power has hardened you. What they don't realize is that you finally stopped abandoning yourself to maintain the illusion of harmony. You stopped confusing peace with silence. You stopped confusing kindness with compliance. And the moment you did that, the social contract shattered. Because most people don't bond over truth. They bond over mutual self-deception. They bond over shared stories that keep everyone comfortable. You were part of that system once. Not because you were weak, but because you were generous. You gave people the benefit of the doubt. You believed words over patterns. You extended empathy where discernment was required. Pain corrected that. Pain refined you. Pain stripped you down to what's real. Now you see patterns faster. You notice energy shifts before conversations change. You hear what's not being said. You recognize when someone is clapping for you, while secretly hoping you trip. And instead of confronting it, instead of exploding or explaining, you adjust your access. That's the part that breaks their brains. You don't chase closure. You don't demand apologies. You don't expose anyone publicly. You simply remove yourself from the dynamic that no longer aligns. And for people who needed your presence to feel superior, that feels like punishment. They don't miss you. They miss the role you played. They miss the version of you who overgave, who over-explained, who stayed late, tried harder, forgave faster. They miss the emotional labor you provided for free. They miss having someone reliable to dump their chaos onto, while pretending they were the stable ones. But that era is over. You're not cruel now. You're selective. You're not distant. You're deliberate. You're not guarded. You're awake. And awareness has a way of cutting through illusions without raising its voice. That's why they're uncomfortable around you. Because you don't need to prove anything anymore. You don't need to perform goodness. You don't need to announce growth. You move quietly, confidently, with the kind of internal authority that doesn't require consensus. And people who built their identity on being perceived as good can't stand being around someone who actually is, without needing applause. That's the angel-demon paradox again. You can be gentle and still say no. You can be calm and still walk away. You can forgive and still remember. You can love without lowering yourself. That combination is rare, and rarity disrupts systems built on predictability. When everyone switched sides, it felt like betrayal. But what it really was confirmation. Confirmation that your evolution was real. Confirmation that your presence had weight. Confirmation that your silence had power. Because if you were truly insignificant, nobody would have needed to reposition themselves around you. People don't switch sides when nothing matters. They switch sides when something threatens the balance. And you threatened the balance simply by becoming whole. Now you're operating on a different frequency. You don't react to provocations designed to pull you back into old roles. You don't explain your boundaries to people committed to crossing them. You don't beg for fairness in systems that profit from imbalance. You observe, decide, and move accordingly. That's not detachment. That's evolution. So let them tell stories about you. Let them label you however they need to label you to make sense of their discomfort. Let them say you've changed. Let them say you're no longer nice. You didn't lose your heart. You found your spine. And once a person has both, they are no longer manageable. They are no longer easy to exploit, no longer easy to guilt, no longer easy to box in. They are free. And freedom, real freedom, always looks dangerous to those still negotiating their worth through approval. You didn't become something else. You became yourself. And here's where it gets even more unsettling. For them, not for you. You didn't just outgrow the room. You outgrew the rules it ran on. You stopped responding the way they trained you to respond. You stopped flinching at the same triggers. You stopped jumping when they dangled approval like bait. And the moment they realized their usual buttons no longer worked, panic set in. Because when someone can't be controlled emotionally, the entire hierarchy collapses. That's when the whispers got louder. That's when alliances formed without you. That's when the sudden moral high ground appeared out of nowhere. Not because you did something unforgivable, but because you became unreadable. Unreadable people are dangerous. You see, most people live on scripts, predictable reactions, familiar patterns, apologies on cue, guilt on command. You used to play that game, not because you were weak, but because you believed in harmony. You believed in fairness. You believed people met sincerity with sincerity. Then life corrected you. Now you move differently. You pause where you used to rush. You observe where you used to explain. You let people reveal themselves instead of interrupting the process by trying to save the connection. And that restraint, cold, calm, surgical restraint, feels like a threat to anyone who relied on your emotional availability to feel important. They don't know how to place you anymore. You're no longer the nice guy they could predict. You're no longer the emotional cushion. You're no longer the one who smooths things over when tension rises. And without that role, they're forced to face themselves. And most people would rather flip sides than do that. That's the truth nobody wants to say. People don't turn on you because you're cruel. They turn on you because you stopped being useful to their self-image. Once you stopped absorbing disrespect quietly, once you stopped translating their bad behavior into excuses, once you stopped being the buffer between their ego and reality, the illusion shattered, and instead of adjusting, they blamed the mirror. That mirror was you, and now you can see how fragile their niceness always was, how conditional their ethics were, how fast principles disappear when convenience is threatened. They smile less now. Their tone changes when you enter the room. They test you with small provocations, waiting for the old version of you to reappear. But that version is gone, not dead, retired, because you learned something critical. Peace that requires self-betrayal isn't peace, it's sedation. And you woke up. That awakening didn't make you louder. It made you quieter in a way that unsettles people. You don't announce boundaries, you enforce them. You don't threaten, you disengage. You don't argue, you remember. And memory, when paired with clarity, is lethal to manipulation. They can't gaslight you anymore. They can't rush you anymore. They can't shame you back into submission. And that's when the real switch happens. Not sides, power. The power moved inward. You stopped outsourcing your sense of worth to group approval. You stopped needing to be seen as good to know you are grounded. You stopped performing morality for people who only respected it when it benefited them. And when that internal shift locked in, the external world rearranged itself accordingly. Some people vanished. Some people revealed themselves. Some people tried to control the narrative. None of it mattered, because you were no longer negotiating your identity. That's the moment you cross the line most people never cross. The line between being liked and being free. Between being agreeable and being sovereign. Between being nice and being whole. And yes, there's loneliness there. A sharp, clean loneliness that doesn't beg to be filled. A solitude that feels like standing on high ground after a storm. But that loneliness is honest. It doesn't require you to pretend. It doesn't ask you to shrink. It just asks you to be real. So let them switch sides. Let them pretend they were always skeptical. Let them rewrite history to protect their pride. Let them call you cold, distant, intense, different. They're not wrong about the last one. You're different now, not because you hardened, but because you integrated. You learned how to hold light and darkness without letting either run you. You learned how to be compassionate without being consumed. You learned how to walk away without hatred. You learned how to choose yourself without turning bitter. That balance, that's power. And power doesn't need to announce itself. It just changes the temperature of the room. They feel it when you're silent. They feel it when you don't react. They feel it when you no longer explain. They feel it because deep down, they know something they can't admit. You didn't lose your kindness. You weaponized your discernment. And once that happens, the game doesn't just change. It ends. Easy now. Slow your breathing. Something just shifted, didn't it? That tight pressure in your chest. That's not fear. That's recognition. Because while you were standing there, minding your own lane, trying to stay clean, stay quiet, stay human, things were happening behind your back that would make angels reconsider mercy and make demons take notes. You felt it before you knew it. A change in the air, eyes lingering too long, conversations stopping when you entered the room. They smiled at you like allies, then turned around and rewrote history with your name in the margins like a warning. See, that's the part they never understand about you. You're not ignorant, you're patient. You're not soft, you're restrained, you're not blind. You just don't react until the moment is surgically precise. They thought secrecy was protection. They thought whispers were invisible. They thought betrayal only mattered if you caught them in the act. But here's the truth they don't want to face. You don't need evidence to know you've been violated. Your nervous system already ran the analysis. You noticed the subtle sabotage, opportunities quietly rerouted, your words misquoted, your intentions reframed into something darker, something convenient. They borrowed your ideas, then questioned your sanity. They fed off your kindness, then labeled it weakness. They smiled while sharpening the knife, because they assumed you'd never look back. That's where they miscalculated, because there's a duality inside you they never learned to measure. You carry the saint who forgives, and the psychopath who remembers everything. You can hold the door open with one hand and burn the building down with the other, and never lose your composure. They don't realize what they awakened. They thought betrayal would break you. What it actually did was complete you. Pain didn't make you unstable. Pain made you precise. Every time they schemed behind your back, something in you evolved. Your intuition sharpened. Your silence deepened. Your unpredictability became a weapon. You stopped explaining yourself, stopped correcting lies, stopped begging to be understood, because you realized something terrifyingly simple. People who move in the dark panic when the lights don't matter anymore. They're waiting for you to snap. They're hoping you explode. They're praying you lose control so they can point and say, "See, we were right." But you're not snapping the way they expect. You're snapping into clarity. You're snapping into that cold, focused calm that makes manipulators sweat and liars forget their own scripts. You're snapping into the version of you that doesn't need revenge, because presence alone becomes consequence. There's an angel in you that still knows compassion, and there's a demon in you that understands leverage. You don't choose one, you integrate both. That's why they're uneasy now, because they can feel it, the shift. You're quieter, but heavier. Still, but dangerous. They don't know if you know. And that uncertainty is eating them alive. Every move they made behind your back trained you to read rooms faster than words. Every betrayal taught you how systems rot from the inside. Every lie carved another layer of emotional armor. You're no longer reacting, you're calculating. And here's the part that terrifies them the most. You didn't harden, you woke up. You learned that trust is not owed, loyalty is not automatic, and kindness without boundaries is just self-harm in polite clothing. So no, you're not snapping into chaos. You're snapping into alignment, into a version of yourself that doesn't need to scream to be heard, doesn't need validation to move, doesn't need permission to outgrow everyone in the room. They did wild things behind your back, yes, things that reveal who they truly are. But what they did to you was accidentally forge something they can't control, predict, or contain. You're not losing your mind. You're shedding illusions. And the scariest part, you're just getting started. You're still here. Good. That means the signal landed, because what they never accounted for, what none of them ever factor into their little backroom calculations, is what happens after the realization, after the fog lifts, after the body connects the dots before the mind gives it permission. They thought the damage was already done. They assumed the betrayal would leave you confused, emotional, loud. They expected tears, confrontation, collapse. Instead, you went quiet. Not the weak kind of quiet, the kind predators recognize too late. You see, when someone does something wild behind your back, something ugly, something strategic, something cowardly, it creates a fork in the road. Most people break at that point. They spiral. They try to be understood by people who already chose not to understand them. But you didn't. You absorbed it. You let the pain burn clean through you instead of leaking out sideways. You let the shock rearrange your priorities. You let the betrayal teach you things empathy never could. And suddenly, you started seeing patterns. Who only shows up when they need something. Who claps when you fail, but goes silent when you rise. Who mirrors your words, but never your loyalty. It's almost funny how exposed people become once you stop performing for them. They thought your goodness was naivety. They thought your patience meant ignorance. They mistook your restraint for fear. That's the paradox of you. You were never harmless. You were controlled. There's a difference. Anyone can be loud. Anyone can be reckless. Anyone can burn bridges in a fit of emotion. But you learned how to sit with rage without letting it spill. You learned how to smile while mentally filing names, dates, behaviors. That's not madness. That's evolution. There's a saint in you that still believes in mercy, yes. But there's also a psychopath who understands consequences without needing to announce them. You don't explode, you reposition. And that terrifies them because they can feel the shift but can't locate it. They sense you pulling back, not in defeat, but in preparation. They notice you listening more, speaking less, watching how people move when they think they're safe. Every laugh feels forced now. Every check-in feels like surveillance. Every compliment feels like a probe. And you're not paranoid. You're calibrated. See, betrayal doesn't just hurt you. It upgrades your perception. It teaches you how power actually works, how alliances are temporary, how morality bends under pressure. It shows you who needs chaos to feel relevant and who panics when you become unbothered. They wanted to destabilize you. Instead, they gave you X-ray vision. Now you see the whole board, the hidden hierarchies, the unspoken resentments, the quiet envy wrapped in concern. You stopped asking, why would they do this? And started asking, what does this reveal? That's when everything changes. Because once you understand that people act out of fear, scarcity, and insecurity, not truth, you stop taking their behavior personally. You stop chasing explanations. You stop defending your character to people who benefit from misunderstanding you. You let them underestimate you. And oh, they are underestimating you right now. They think you're still processing. They think you're still wounded. They think you're still the same version they could manipulate. They don't realize you're already 5 moves ahead, not plotting revenge, but designing distance, strategic silence, selective access, precision boundaries. You're not snapping in public. You're snapping internally into something colder, sharper, cleaner. You're becoming unpredictable in the way systems hate, not chaotic, unclassifiable. You don't react on cue anymore. You don't give them emotional data. You don't confirm their narratives. And that absence, that void where your old reactions used to be, it's driving them insane. Because they need you emotional to control the story. They need you loud to justify their actions. They need you unstable so they can feel stable by comparison. But you're calm. And calm is terrifying to people who rely on disorder. You didn't lose your humanity. You refined it. You learned that forgiveness doesn't mean access, that understanding doesn't mean tolerance, that love doesn't mean self-erasure. You can still care and walk away. You can still forgive and never forget. You can still smile and never trust the same way again. That's the integration, angel and demon, balanced, heart and blade, aligned. So if you feel that snap building inside you, don't panic. It's not a breakdown, it's a shedding. The moment your nervous system says, enough pretending, you're not becoming cruel, you're becoming exact. And the wildest part, they did all of this thinking they were winning, thinking you'd never notice, thinking they were clever, but they unknowingly activated the most dangerous version of you, the one who doesn't need to prove anything, doesn't need to expose anyone, doesn't need to burn the world to feel powerful. You just let people reveal themselves and adjust accordingly. Stay still, stay sharp, let them keep guessing, because the snap already happened. And what came out on the other side is no longer easy to play with. Stay with that feeling a little longer. don't rush to release it. That pressure behind your eyes, that hum in your spine, that's not anger anymore. That's power reorganizing itself. You see, snapping isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's the exact moment you stop hoping people will do the right thing and start accounting for who they actually are. Because once you accept that what they did behind your back wasn't accidental, wasn't misunderstood, wasn't just business, or not that deep, something inside you locks into place. You stop romanticizing people. You stop projecting goodness onto empty behavior. You stop assuming loyalty where there was only proximity. And that's when the world gets very, very quiet. They don't hear you coming anymore. Not because you're sneaking, but because you're no longer broadcasting your intentions. You used to explain yourself out loud. You used to give context. You used to warn people before you changed. Not anymore. Now you let actions speak after the shift is already irreversible. They wonder why you don't overshare, why you don't vent, why you don't seek reassurance. They don't realize you've moved into a different operating system, one built on observation, pattern recognition, and emotional self-control that borders on frightening. You learned that the people who betray you rarely see themselves as villains. They justify, they minimize, they rationalize. And once you understand that, you stop trying to appeal to their conscience. You appeal to reality instead. You let consequences replace conversations, distance replace arguments, silence replace explanations. And here's the paradox that messes with their heads. You're not colder, you're clearer. You still feel deeply, you still care intensely, you still notice everything. But you no longer leak that depth into places that exploit it. They thought hurting you would make you smaller. Instead, it taught you discernment. They thought gossip would isolate you. Instead, it revealed who was never safe. They thought moving in the shadows made them powerful. Instead, it trained you to see in the dark. You didn't become paranoid. You became perceptive. Now you notice how people change when they think they've won. How they get sloppy. How they reveal intent through tone, timing, and what they suddenly stop doing. You watch how quickly alliances shift when you're no longer accessible, and you don't interrupt them. You let them expose themselves, because the truth is, you don't need revenge when people destroy their own credibility by underestimating you. You don't need to snap publicly. You don't need to confront privately. You don't need to explode at all. Your restraint is the threat. There's something deeply unsettling about someone who knows what was done, knows who did it, knows why, and still moves with composure, still smiles, still builds, still rises. It forces people to sit alone with their guilt, their paranoia, their fear that you're playing a game they don't understand. And you are, but not the game they think. You're not plotting against them. You're outgrowing them. Every betrayal trimmed excess. Every lie burned illusion. Every wild move behind your back clarified your path. You don't chase justice anymore. You create conditions. You don't seek validation. You set standards. You don't react. You decide. That's the evolution pain brings when it doesn't break you. You've integrated the angel who knows compassion with the demon who knows boundaries. You can sit across from someone who wronged you and feel nothing but clarity. No need to punish, no need to expose. Just a quiet, internal note. Access revoked. And they feel that shift. Oh, they feel it. They sense they no longer have influence. They sense their words don't land. They sense their presence doesn't move you. That's when the panic starts. Because people who operate behind backs, cannot survive in the presence of someone who sees through masks and refuses to play along. You're not snapping into chaos, you're snapping into sovereignty, into the version of you that understands power doesn't shout. It waits, it observes, it moves when the timing is unfair, so let them whisper, let them speculate, let them guess what you know and how much. You don't owe them closure, you don't owe them access, you don't owe them the comfort of your old self. What they did behind your back woke something ancient in you, something calm, patient, and unshakable. And the wildest part? They still think this story is about them. It isn't. It's about you finally realizing you don't need to snap to be dangerous. You just need to stop pretending. Good. You didn't flinch when the truth settled in. That means you're past denial now. And denial is where most people stay trapped forever. Because here's what really happened when they moved behind your back. They didn't just betray you. They tested you. They wanted to see if you'd crumble, if you'd lash out, if you'd expose yourself emotionally, so they could label you, manage you, neutralize you. They were waiting for noise, and you gave them silence. That silence rewired everything. You didn't realize it at first, but something ancient inside you recognized the pattern. Not just this betrayal. Every betrayal that ever tried to teach you who you were allowed to be. Every moment you were punished for being too sharp, too perceptive, too honest, too awake. This time, though, you didn't shrink. You adapted. You stopped offering people the benefit of the doubt when their behavior already wrote the conclusion. You stopped confusing proximity with loyalty. You stopped mistaking familiarity for safety. That's when your presence changed. Same face, same voice, different gravity. People feel it before they understand it. Conversations around you shift. Jokes get safer, smiles get stiffer. Because you're no longer feeding the ecosystem they thrived in. You're no longer predictable. You're no longer emotionally available for manipulation. And manipulators panic when the supply goes quiet. They start checking your reactions, fishing for reassurance, testing old buttons. But the buttons are gone. You didn't become numb. You became selective. You still have empathy, but it's guarded. You still have warmth, but it's earned. You still have depth, but it's no longer on display for anyone who asks. That's the integration they never expected. They thought you'd swing to extremes, either broken or brutal. Instead, you became balanced. And balance is lethal to people who depend on chaos. You understand now that snapping doesn't mean losing control. Sometimes snapping means the last illusion breaks. The illusion that fairness is automatic, that truth always wins quickly, that good intentions protect you from bad actors. You learned that awareness is not paranoia. It's survival with eyes open. You learned that being nice without boundaries invites predators with manners. So now, you move differently. You don't announce your plans. You don't correct lies unless necessary. You don't chase closure from people who benefited from hurting you. You let time expose what words never could. And something else changed too. Something deeper. You stopped trying to be understood by people who were committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped performing goodness. You stopped explaining your depth to shallow minds. That's when your energy sharpened. You became harder to read, harder to provoke, harder to access. And the people who moved behind your back, they can feel that they lost something, but they don't know what. They lost leverage. They lost narrative control. They lost the version of you that made their behavior possible. Now they're replaying old moments in their head, wondering when the shift happened, wondering if you know more than you're letting on, wondering if every calm interaction is loaded with meaning, and you don't correct them. Because uncertainty is the consequence of secrecy. You don't need to expose anything. The truth leaks out of people who are scared. It shows up in over-explanations, sudden defensiveness, unnecessary aggression. You just watch. You let them unravel themselves while you stabilize. That's the evolution pain gives to those who don't collapse under it. It doesn't turn you cruel, it turns you precise. You choose where your energy goes like a sniper chooses angles. You're not here to destroy, you're here to outgrow. And that's the part they never saw coming. Because they thought your snapping point would look like rage. But it looks like clarity. It looks like boundaries. It looks like silence where compliance used to live. You didn't lose your heart. You armored it. You didn't lose your softness. You protected it. You didn't become dark. You learned how to use the dark. So if you feel that snap echoing through you right now, steady, cold, awake, understand this. It's not the beginning of chaos. It's the end of being played. And once someone crosses that threshold, there's no going back to the old version. Only forward, only upward, only quieter, and far more dangerous to underestimate. Stay still, stay awake, let them keep guessing. You already moved, and now you understand it. The snap wasn't a breakdown, it was a threshold. You didn't lose control, you took it back. You didn't become heartless, you became untouchable where it counts. You didn't harden into something ugly, you refined into something real. What they did behind your back doesn't own you anymore. It educated you. It stripped the illusions. It sharpened your instincts to a level most people never reach. You walk forward lighter now, not because the weight disappeared, but because you learned exactly what to drop. You don't announce exits. You don't explain boundaries. You don't warn people when access is closing. You just move. Let them replay the past. Let them wonder what you know. Let them feel the distance grow and never understand why. You're not here to snap for their entertainment. You already snapped into clarity, and from here on out, you don't react to the dark. You command it.